Did you know that people aren't the problems that they have? Did you know that? Think about that for a second. How many of you in this room tonight has ever felt like a problem? Has anybody ever said to you, you're a problem? You know, we need to get rid of you. You're a problem. Have you ever had an employee who you felt that way about? Have you ever had a child that you felt that way about? You ever had a spouse or a best friend or a cousin or a stranger that you felt that way about? You were all of those people to somebody at one time in your life. People are not the problem. People have problems. And none of them want their problems. I want to share a story with you that might give you some frame of reference about this idea of people not being the problem. I want to tell you a story about a little boy that I knew. And he grew up in the South Bronx in New York City. And he grew up in a family of 6 brothers and sisters. And they had a dad. And that dad moved away from that family when that child was born. And so that child grew up not knowing that father. All the other siblings knew that father, but this child didn't know that father. And 10 years passed, and that child grew into a strapping young man. But at the age of 10, he was about 5'6", weighed about 145 pounds, was a star athlete in all the grades that he participated in, pee-wee football, baseball, track and field. But he couldn't read and write. He couldn't write his name, couldn't count. That kid felt like a problem. And that problem became even more pronounced when that father showed up. And that child walked in the house coming from football practice one day with his gear over his shoulder like children do, you know. Knees scruffed up, running in to get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, maybe a little cocoa. New York City's pretty cold in the wintertime. And there was a stranger sitting on their couch. And the stranger looked just like the little boy. And the stranger was chit-chatting with the little boy's mom. And the little boy said, wow, this guy looks a lot like me. Wonder who this guy is. And as he walked past his parents chatting on the couch, the mother said, aren't you going to speak to your father? And the goosebumps on the child just lifted his clothes away from his body. He almost levitated from the idea that he was finally in front of his father. And they got into Dad's Cadillac, and the father had the fancy suit and the brand new Cadillac, and they drove all over New York City. And they went to see relatives, and the boy felt proud because he was with the dad he'd never met, and he saw how people were excited to see the father, and was just all excited about the car and the prestige. And this is something he had never experienced before. He had always kind of hung around the other kids and their fathers at all the award ceremonies and everything else. He was the winner of all the awards, but there was never a dad. And so the father brought him home that evening and dropped him off and said, I'm going to come back tomorrow and get you, and we're going to go down to the merchant sea ship where I work, and you're going to meet all the crew, and I'm going to take you and meet the captain, and we're going to make breakfast for you on the ship, and you're going to have a great time, and then I'm going to buy you some clothes. Now, what child doesn't get excited about that? Come on, be honest. You get excited when a dad's going to take you, do things with you, especially when you've never met that dad. Especially when you look like that dad. Especially when you really need a dad. And he sat on the porch waiting for that father. And he sat there for 3 days. Of course, he went to bed occasionally. But you get the point. And the father never came back. And that boy said, there must be something wrong with me. Wouldn't you? Come on. You would. You might not want to admit it to anybody, but you say, something wrong. Let me check. Ain't hanging out my nose, no? You know, something wrong. Maybe my ears too, maybe my teeth, maybe my eyes, maybe my nose, maybe my feet. Something wrong with me. Maybe it's because I can't read. Maybe you don't like me because I can't read. But it has to be me. It has to be me. He was here, he had a good time, and all of a sudden he was gone. What's wrong with me? I must be a problem. There's something wrong with me. And it built on itself. He said, no one will ever hurt me again. No one will ever get that close to me again. I won't trust anybody. You stared at him wrong, he'd fight you in school. If he couldn't read, he would never learn to read. He would hate the world. And you know what hate means, don't you? Harmful, angry, tragic energy. That's what hate means. And you are the vessel for hating. And so it tears your heart out and deteriorates your immune system. Does all kinds of things to your body. And he grew up a troubled child. But you know, God's good. And he had a mama, and mama bathed him in medicinal words every day. Not just about him, but you know what? About his father. Mama wouldn't let him hate his father. Your father has some problems. He's not the problem. He has some problems. Love your dad. Your dad was good to me. Your dad was good to your other brothers and sisters. I don't know what's wrong with him now. But don't you hate your father. I don't want to ever hear you say you hate your father. Now, how many of us say that about our bosses? You know, we might practice it. But it empowered the boy because he looked like the father. And why would you want to hate something you look like? Wouldn't do you any good, would it? Doesn't do you any good to carry around a safe on your back of hate. And so he made fantasies about the father and loved the father. And then through that process, he was able to grow up and have a decent childhood. And it took him to boarding school. And it took him to Boston College. And he was an all-American athlete and a scholar. And he went to the National Football League. And he played in the Oakland Raiders and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and New Orleans Saints. And he became a university professor. And then he got cancer. Because trying to be perfect for a father is tough. Trying to be perfect for a family that's dysfunctional is tough. Trying to erase 3 days of sitting on the porch is rough. And you make everybody responsible for that father all your life. I'm going to give you things, but you can't give me anything. I can buy you gifts, but you can't buy me any. I'm not going to have any attachments. After a while, that wears on you. And so the little boy developed cancer as a man. He developed Hodgkin's disease. And when he sat down with the doctors at Stanford Medical Center, they said, you know, one of the main causes of lymphomas is stress and anxiety and depression. And he said, yeah, I'm not stressed out. I don't have any problems. And he got treated with chemotherapy and radiation therapy. And you know what? In that cancer ward, there were people from all nationalities, all genders, all from every level of the social stratification that exists in our culture. Rich, poor, middle class, lower middle class. They all came because they were all sick. They all had cancer. And they all had stress. And they all had depression. They all had anxiety. And they all thought at one point that they were a problem. They all had the fear and the doubt that comes with thinking you're a problem. They all had the cautiousness and the hesitation that comes with thinking you're a problem. And so when the little boy got treated and got better, he thought he was okay. And then the depression came back. So he joined a survivors group at the hospital, and they sat around and talked about their problems. And he found out in that conversation that I really am not a problem. I have problems. And all these people from all different parts and walks of life, no matter what color, no matter what gender, no matter what sexual preference, no matter what their differences or diversity, they have something in common with me. They have problems. And the doctor knows that if they treat the problem accordingly, they can save the human being. Interesting concept. If we were the problem, then they give us enough chemotherapy to kill us. But they say, wait a minute, no, that's not the answer. We got to save the human being and kill the cancer, because the cancer is the problem, not the person. Interesting example, don't you think? I think so. So the little boy got better, and he joined the survivors group, and he got his head better too. And then he met his father again. He discovered his dad. He paid some money, and he found his father. And he talked to his father, and his father cried. And he said, you know, I could have sent you a baseball glove or a bat. I could have sent you a train set. I'm sorry. And the little boy hugged his father, and he said, it's okay. My mother always said, you were a good person. And only good people would say they were sorry. Only good people will admit they were wrong. And you know, I haven't met a person yet that wasn't good. Because I'm that little boy.